We are at Elk City Lake Park, just a little bit to the west of Oklahoma City, where we were for the last 2 days.
We had a lot of fun in Oklahoma City. I wasn't expecting it to have such a quaint and walkable downtown area. We parked at the Bass Pro Shop, which is a good, reliable place for RV parking, and then walked along the really cute river walk there and did a bunch of scootering.
We've loved Oklahoma, but today is our last day in the state because we're driving to Texas this evening.
Crazy to think that we are going to be back in Texas already. I remember when we got to Texas on our big trip in 2022, that felt like such a milestone. So join us for another week in the life of living in the van.
Since we left Oklahoma City, we've been driving on the interstate, I-40, but when we go into these small towns off the interstate and drive their main streets, I'm pretty sure that that's Route 66. Like, this is called Highway 66, that store was called Outlet 66. I think that's why.
So this is Route 66 then?
And that's the Sonic.
Yes. If you're new around here, Sonic is one of our favorite American indulgences. There's not even a lot here that we can get
As vegetarians.
but we love to get some tater tots, some milkshakes. You know, I still haven't decided if I'm getting a milkshake or a slushie.
Oh, goodness.
Maybe we need to pull in, or are we doing a drive away off?
Yeah, I think that's everything.
A very nutritious dinner for a Friday night.
We went on a walk. I was gonna call it a hike, but that's too generous.
Mine is Reese's peanut butter. His is strawberry cheesecake.
We're driving off into the sunset like it's the end of a Western film. Yeah, that's what you're watching, though. A Western film.
So tonight we have, roughly a 2-hour drive ahead of us?
Yep.
Where are we headed?
To Amarillo, Texas. And we're going just south of the city because there's a really cool state park and canyon that we want to see tomorrow. But we got, let's see, 161 miles to drive between now and there.
Oklahoma, Texas!
Nice.
Good morning.
Let's go hiking.
So today Dan has brought us to Duro Canyon State Park. We are in Texas. We arrived in Texas last night. And what are we here to see?
The second biggest canyon in America. We've already seen the Grand Canyon, so I'm sure this will be nothing.
Already the landscape has changed so much where you really feel like we're kind of in the desert. It's like brush and like very, very dry.
It's a beautiful view.
Water, pistachio mix, fruit snacks, and we're going on a 30-minute hike. I'm kidding. This is for a 4-hour hike.
Let's hope we can do it in 4 hours.
I know, because sometimes we can't always get it done in the time estimate.
We aren't the fastest hikers.
But we will not go hungry.
We won't die of thirst.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of thirst, I need to make
How are we
room for
gonna
this.
fit that?
I'll figure it out.
I need video evidence that I locked it so that when we're like 2 hours away from here, I'm not like, oh no, did I lock it?
Just lock it again, just to be sure.
Lock.
Okay.
Video evidence. We're like a quarter of the way through. How you holding up?
Good, just thirsty. It's a lot warmer today than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was only going to be 17.
When we woke up this morning, we were cold.
Yeah.
And now we're sweating. Snack time.
Yeah, these are actually really good protein bars.
Mm-hmm. It's like a strawberry Kit Kat. .8 miles. Now we just have to get all the way home, all the way back to the van. Van, sweet van.
Yes. Look at our shoes. We need to like.
Well, look at mine.
Look at my leggings. They're like, oh. That was a big hike.
Mm-hmm.
We were gone for just about 4 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the park guide suggested. Whew. I would say the whole trail was pretty easy until we got to the very last 1/10 of a mile, I guess, where it was basically a scramble uphill to get to the Lighthouse Rock. But it was cool.
It's been a cool park in general. It's a really cool canyon.
Yeah.
Well, we've come to the cowboy dugout. At least that's what it's labeled on the map. There's not a whole lot more info than that.
Yeah. But this is cool though. So that is like the windmill that would have pumped the water, and that's the cistern that it would have, I guess, pumped the water into.
Honestly, it wasn't until adulthood that I learned that this old style of like
Cowboy
Wild
windmill.
West windmill or
Yeah.
whatever, that they were for pumping water. Like that
Yeah.
makes sense. It's obviously not for electricity or something back
No, but
then.
I never realized that before either. I just find it so fascinating though how there's so many mechanical solutions for things that we think we need, like a motor or an engine to do now. It's like they were able to use the wind to pump water. Good morning. We are on the road again this morning and we are in New Mexico.
We made it.
Today we are heading to the Pecos National Historic Park to see some of our like favorite kind of stuff to see.
Yes. I think this will be really cool.
Today we are exploring Pecos National Historic Park, which is the site of the Pecos Pueblo, which is basically a town or like a community center of the indigenous people that lived here, you know, since time immemorial. It was most active, it seems like, from about 680 up until Spanish contact in the mid 1500s. And there are ruins here that we're gonna go and see today, which is really exciting. We love learning about the history of the indigenous cultures of North America, and especially in the Southwest, there's a lot of cool, like really tangible, physical, you know, sites that you can see.
We're basically geeking out.
We love learning about the history and archaeology of the cultures of all the places that we visit. Notably, we love Roman Empire stuff. The Roman Empire is our Roman Empire. But I really do have a particular interest in the indigenous history of North America because I think it's something that is so sadly like undertold. It's the kind of thing where, like, you know, we learned a bit about it in school, but not nearly enough.
And it's literally like the land we live on. You know?
Yeah, our lives are
exists.
here, and I think it's important for us to understand what was going on here for the thousands of years before our ancestors showed up.
This is really cool. And what you're seeing here is just the remains of what would have been a 4 or 5 story dwelling complex. Like it was like row homes, all one next to the other, all the way down. Much of it is still unexcavated. It's kind of crazy.
I was just saying to Dan, I feel like the reason why I find sites like this so impactful is because I feel like I really grew up, like, whether it was from school, different adults in my life, learning, like when I would have questions about, like, I knew there's people that lived in North America before, you know, white settlers basically. And I would ask, like, well, where are all the buildings? Like, where is all the stuff that those people built and lived in? And I feel like the messaging that I got was like, oh, you know, like it was small wood structures, or like they lived in teepees or whatever, and they're not here anymore, like they're kind of gone. When I started seeing these really large, like significant structures that showed like big cities where thousands of people lived, I think that really revealed to me, like, no, there was like significant stuff going on here. And I think it's easier for us settlers to tell ourselves, like, oh, well, there wasn't a lot going on. It was pretty small scale. We don't really have evidence for it anymore, because it makes us feel better about the current state of things. And so that's why I think it's so important to see stuff like this, because you realize the significance, the hugeness of what, you know, we essentially destroyed.
What was intentionally destroyed.
What was intentionally destroyed by settlers, yeah.
Through like direct violence and
genocide. Yeah.
On the indigenous people in the area.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we both read the book 1491, which is about what the Americas were like before the Europeans came.
Yeah. It's really fascinating.
I'm sure there's other books as well, but I think it's important to try and educate yourself, especially if you're a North American who's, you know,
benefiting from our colonial system, basically.
Exactly.
So according to our guidebook, this is a kiva, or a ceremonial room, where the men of the Pecos Pueblo would meet. They would like weave garments down here and practice other spiritual traditions. Guys, we're in New Mexico. Isn't it supposed to be warm here?
It was hot in Amarillo, but not here. This is the St. Francis of Assisi Basilica, and by some measures, a dubious claim, but apparently it may be the oldest church in America that is continuously operating. That was crazy timing.
Love how you can trace the cultural influences in architecture. This is obviously supposed to be like Spanish-inspired architecture with the Pueblo vibe, but you can also see the Arab influence on Spanish architecture. Like the arch over the door is very much giving the Great Mosque Cathedral of Cordoba vibes. It's been a full day of exploring, and now it's just time for our typical van life nighttime routine. Dan's converting our dining room to our bedroom for the night, and I'm getting the dishes washed. Somewhat similar to the Pueblo that we just visited. However, it's still actively in use. There's people that live there, there's people that work there, have businesses there, and so I think this will be really interesting rather than seeing it just really from a historic perspective. This is like the real life, still active Pueblo community. We just had a really awesome tour from a student volunteer here, and she was telling us how these structures, these homes, are over 1,000 years old, and they're still inhabited today. Like, it's really incredible. It's really impactful getting to see this after going to the Pecos historical site the other day, because we saw the ruins of one pueblo where the people eventually left, and it's really incredible to see the active life that's still going on here. Kind of gives you insight into what Pecos might have looked like had it continued. And I think it's just a really good reminder too that like the history of colonialism, it's not just history. Like, so many of our stories of indigenous people are based in the past and seem like, you know, this romanticized, distant history, but this is real life. There are real people still carrying on beautiful and rich cultural traditions. And it's so cool that we're able to come and see this.
Pecos really felt like a sad story that this town that once was thriving is now completely abandoned. But being here feels a little bit more optimistic. It's nice to know that even though 99% of, you know, what
had been here,
what had existed,
is
in
gone.
what's now North America, or is gone. But there are still a few places like this that still exist.
Yeah, and are thriving. And Taos Pueblo has another more recent success story in the fact that even after their lake, which is the source of their river, had been taken by the US government, they got it back in the 70s. And so they are the first indigenous group in the US to get land back from the US government. Well, we have had a very eventful weekend and start of the week. We hiked through the second biggest canyon in the US. We were still in Texas then. Then we visited one historic and current pueblo in New Mexico. I'd say it's been a successful few days of adventure. So I think we're gonna end off the vlog here. As always, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And thanks for coming along. See you in the next one. Bye.